Hello everyone, happy day. Dr. Amy, founder of the Free Range Mama Project, here with another awesome video. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I'm so glad that you are here. If you are new, please subscribe and also hit that notification bell so that you get notifications when we release new videos, which is twice a week. So if you're new here, again, I'm so happy you're here. I'm super passionate about what I get to do, which is giving the power back to the mamas. And really, I'm on a mission to walk women through this crazy, amazing, awesome journey of motherhood, from conception all the way to raising healthy humans, healthy kiddos, and really just giving you great information and practical tools to raise a healthy family. So today's video is going to be about baby's first food and beyond. So let's dive in. Here we go. So I want to talk to you guys about baby's first food. And this is super important that we shift our paradigm and we shift our thinking as to what we're giving our child and what we're giving our children, because everything that we give them is what helps build them as a little human and helps develop and grow them going forward. And so it's super, super important to be intentional with what we are putting in their bodies. And again, it's up to us because they really don't have a say. So it's important that we are mindful and that we make great decisions. So in discussion about baby's first food. So here is the issue. Let me start by saying, typically when we're introducing first food, it's usually guidelines say usually around 6 months, which is all good as long as baby is able to sit up, hold themselves up, have that they have good neck control, head control, that they're able to lean in. 6 months is roughly the age that is happening. The problem lies when our first recommendation, or the most common first food recommendation, is rice cereal. There are three big problems with rice cereal, and I'm going to go through those right now. So first problem with rice cereal is high arsenic levels in rice in general. So high arsenic levels, the problem with that is, get this, there are currently no set standards or quantitative guidelines in the US for arsenic levels in rice cereals. No set guidelines or standards. I mean, my guideline would be none at all. So that's a concern, that there's no real monitoring or watching of that, or no set rule to say like, hey, that's too much, which is odd because there's very set rules for other things, but we'll get into that another time. So here's a problem with high arsenic levels. So research from JAMA, which is the Journal of American Pediatric Association, found concentrations of arsenic to be twice as high in the urine of infants who ate rice cereals. And in some cases, for that beginning period of time in introduction, some of these little nuggets are eating rice cereal multiple times a day. So you just think about how much it's increasing their exposure to arsenic. Now, high levels of arsenic can lead to nervous system damage. It can also lead to poor IQ, intelligence, poor focus, concentration, and beyond. So for the first issue, arsenic is not a good idea, obviously. The other thing that they found was that moms who were predisposed to a high arsenic diet while pregnant gave birth to babies with much higher rates of respiratory issues. So this is a problem across the board. If you're interested in finding out if you're pregnant, how you can avoid foods that are high arsenic, I can provide some information below, because that's, again, another topic. But so the first problem is arsenic. The second problem is metabolic programming, or metabolic programming connection. So listen to this. Numerous studies have found links between birth size of baby and therefore the prenatal nutrition, as well as excessive weight gain, so those first foods, with conditions like type 2 diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, and coronary artery disease. So essentially what that's saying is what we do while we're pregnant not only determines the health of our child, but the foods that we give our child when they're first here, as well as their first solid foods, make a difference of what their health will look like going forward for years to come. And that's a huge responsibility. And that means that is even more so important for us to make great decisions. And we'll talk about those decisions in a second. I want to start with problem, and then I'll give you a solution. So the third thing that is a problem or an issue with the rice cereal is taste preference. So essentially what taste preference means is evidence suggests that many taste preferences develop for the child before the age of walking. So that's typically between 10 to 12, 14 months. So taste preference typically develops before that. And with a child that's heavily eating rice cereal, the problem with that is that it predisposes their tongue to sugar. So it'll cause taste preference as well as palate preference going forward. And skip this. I thought this was super important because I think as a culture, we are so quick to say like, we're sick because my mom's sick, or we have this condition because it's in my family, as opposed to being able to take responsibility for that. So these are two stats that I thought were super powerful. So the first one is studies have shown that early exposure to food and social interactions outweigh genetics when it comes to food preferences. Meaning that we can't just say, oh, well, the reason why that we like, meat and potatoes is because that's how we were raised. It's because that was the first food, maybe not meat and potatoes, but that was the first food that the tongue was exposed to that developed that preference. The second thing, this is also a great statistics. So up to 85% of the variability in eating patterns is due to environmental, not genetic. Again, what we're showing and teaching our kids that's healthy, or what we're teaching them is food, matters. So let's talk about solution. First thing first, I have 7 great foods that I'm going to go through with you. The one thing I want to harp on or really make a point on is I understand that lives are busy, and I work full time. I own, process of owning 2 businesses. I have a very rambunctious, free range, wild boy that runs around everywhere. So I totally get it, but do what you can to make the foods yourself. I thought in the beginning it was going to be super hard, and it ended up just being a very easy, natural process. So I would recommend as much as you can make at home because there's also high levels of heavy metals, mercury, lead, aluminum, arsenic that have been found in baby foods, even some of the organic baby foods. So I would highly recommend making it yourself. Stick to organic as much as possible. So especially if fruits and veggies, if they're eating the actual skin, so like a strawberry or blueberry, please make sure that it is organic, and then meat should be free range and grass fed. So I'm gonna rattle off 7 foods and then a couple things to avoid. So first food is avocado. Studies have shown, and I'll link this below, that avocados are actually one of the better first foods to start with. That was my son's first food. We have an awesome video of him just holding it in his mouth, but it became one of his favorite foods. So avocado would be number 1. Number 2 would be bone broth. We did this. We would make him bone broth and either put it in a bottle, or we would mix it in with his food. So if I made him veggies, if we did, I'd make him a root veggie stew, and I would just make it with bone broth. So you can do either organic chicken bone broth, or you can do grass-fed beef bone broth. The third one is squash. We did yellow and green squash. The fourth is either green peas or green beans. The fifth one is sweet potato. I would always recommend starting with just the veggie, and then if you want to add a little bit of grass-fed butter, a little bit of MCT oil, or a little bit of sea salt, a little bit of cinnamon going forward with the sweet potato, that's awesome. My son loved that, but always start with the veggie first, just so that they can get used to the texture and the taste of just that. So sweet potato is an awesome idea, and that was, I think, actually my son's second food. 6 would be banana. I would also recommend mixing in a little bit of raw nut butter. So studies are actually showing that it's better to introduce the child to what they call the high allergen foods sooner than later. And if you have concerns about this, as always, talk to your doctor. These are just recommendations that science is showing is actually what the right answer is. So we did just a little bit of butter, and then we'd either do a little bit of banana and either raw cashew butter, or we did raw almond butter. And if we did peanut butter, we did a little bit of organic Valencia peanut butter. I talk about that in my mycotoxin video as far as why to do organic Valencia peanuts. So if you have questions on that, go watch that video because that's helpful. The last one is eggs. And eggs are a great one too because it helps them as we lead into baby-led weaning, and helps them get the pincher, the grass to be able to hold and smush and shove in their face. And again, if you have concerns about the high allergen foods, or what they call to be high allergen foods, talk to your doctor, because the body should not be sensitive to these unless there's an underlying issue. But always talk to your healthcare provider. The last things I want to mention avoiding specifically would be pesticides. So again, making sure that things are organic, non-GMO. Really avoiding those glutens and grains, especially in the first year of life. Artificial sweeteners, which you may not necessarily sprinkle something on, but be sure that you're looking at the ingredients to avoid things like aspartame, sucralose, Splenda, Equal. processed sugars, and then nitrites and nitrates, which are typically found in meats. So I hope that was helpful. My goal is always to give you guys the best information possible so that, again, we can take the power back into our hands and we can raise healthy babies, because it is up to us to raise our healthy kiddos. And if we can raise our healthy kiddos, we can raise a healthy generation, and we can change health for the better in the future. So bless you guys. I hope you guys have an amazing day, and I'll see you soon. Thanks.